Good evening, everyone, and I hope you are as excited as I am, because today I'm going to do first of the many, about maybe 15 videos of knife reviews, so you're in for a real treat. Now, first of all, we're going to do the Fallkniven A1 knife. As you can see, the specifications are all in here, and I'm not going to waste our time going through all these. They can be found in the description section of this video. I'm going to jump right into the review section of this knife. Now, first of all, as you can see, I've got a knife right here, and the overall build quality of this knife is excellent. I could not emphasize enough, because, well, it just simply is probably the only thing you can expect from a product made in Japan. This knife was designed in Sweden, I believe, but made in Japan with their sort of signature VG10 steel. Anyways, it's a very robust design, and the price is somewhat a bit pricey. Anyways, so let's go into the details. The positive points of this knife. For number one, this knife, if you didn't look it up from internet before, it's got a Sanmai styled VG10 core stainless steel in the center, and the line here represents where the sandwich steel on the sides meet. So the core is VG10, and on the side it's actually a 420J stainless steel, which is more corrosion resistant, and VG10 is more edge retention sort of focused. Anyway, so laminated, and Fallkniven website actually says that that laminated steel like these actually are 20% stronger than the conventional simple steel by itself, of the same thickness, of course. So that's something that's good to know. The other thing is that it's very strong in the tip. It's actually a survival knife build, and I'm gonna be careful. So the tip is very strong. It's reasonably thick and reasonably wide. And that's also very good. The sharpness of this knife is another thing I'd like to emphasize. I've heard of people saying their particular one is not very sharp, but this one I got is just next to nothing, really. A cut paper, like there is nothing there. So no complaints there from me. And the other thing is it's got a very sharp right angle on the back. You should be able to see that. You see it's very sharp right angle, because this knife was designed as a survival knife, so they put it there a right angle to help you to start a fire if you have a fire steel. The other thing is very forward heavy chopping. The whole overall width of this knife is about 1/4 inch, and with this length, which is about 6 inches, 6 inches long blade, it's got very forward heaviness. And so when you chop like wood and stuff, making firewood, this knife gives you a lot of advantage overall over this area with the heavy forward design. And there is also a half hand guard here as well, just prevent your finger from slipping forward should you do any sort of a thrusting attack. And a textured rubber handle, which is sort of like a conventional diamond texture. This is not unusual texture you find on knives. I think rubberizing this thing actually makes it much more sort of grippy, like it give you extra security. So when you hold it like this, it's like you feel it's really quite comfortable, and it's not gonna slip during hard use. And what's next? We've got a lanyard hole available right here on the end. I always like a lanyard hole on the knives. Even if you don't have to use it, it's good to know it's there if you want to use it. A decent sized handle for various size hands. I've got a sort of a medium sized hand, so when I hold this knife, it sort of gives me a slightly extra space. So I imagine if you got like really big hands, this should be still sufficient for you to grip. Although I think it's gonna, I mean, it's certainly not the biggest handle I've seen on a survival knife, but this is not bad at all. So now we've got to the next page. I didn't mention the knife has a full tang, so evidently on this end you can see the steel going through from that end all the way to this end and give you extra about 2 millimeters longer sticking out. And this is designed for sort of like a if you have to bash something, use this as sort of an improvised hammer. It can be used that way, and it will work okay, although the rubber may actually be damaged if you hammer something very hard and rough. The ergonomics is also very excellent as well. So next up is a sheath. Now the sheath is a thing about this knife that's very interesting. I've got like there's two different offering in terms of the sheath. You get a leather one, which I've got. This is a very high build quality leather, and there's also a Kraton sheath, which I didn't choose. It's very ugly, anyways. So the sheath here is very, you can see it's overall like really nice. Everything is just perfectly built. I couldn't complain at all. And leg strap here, in case you want to tie this end to your leg while walking, it's probably going to provide some extra comfort. That's very good as well. And oh yeah, and the quick release button, quick release of the sheath on the, like as you can see where the belt goes, there's some buttons here. You can just, if you have to release the knife and take off the sheath, just unclip the belt loop buttons, and that allows you to easily take this off. And there is an extra button here on the strap, like you can clip it in. And you clip it in, and that way you can keep the knife inside. And when you draw the knife, the knife edge is not going to cut this part of the strap. So they've actually thought this through very carefully. I think it's really well designed sheath. I really like this one. And yeah, so that's it for the positive points about the sheath. So now let's go to the negative section. So for the knife part, really one thing I don't like about any knife is that if you can't take apart the knife in any means, which this one is, there's no screws, no nothing to take off this handle, which probably isn't too big a deal because it's a rubberized handle and it's sort of overmolded over the entire handle, so water and any dirt is unlikely to get in. But in time, I believe they can get in, and having an option to take apart the handle and clean and oil the knife or whatever, that's always a good thing to have. So the other thing is it's a 6 inches knife, and it's somewhat quite heavy. I mean, obviously, all this thickness of the steel will offer a lot of weight to you, and so that's probably one thing that you want to watch out for. It's not a light knife. For the sheath, a couple of things. Despite the fact that it's such a good sheath, it's actually not ambidextrous. So as you can see, the knife is only designed to go edge toward the side, and you can't slip it in both ways. So you can see, yeah. And of course, I always mention that the fact that leather is just simply not ideal for outdoors design use. No matter how well made they are, they tend to swell in the wet condition or in water or anything. And that brings us to another point. There's no drainage hole on this thing at all. No drainage, no, not anywhere. I looked for it anywhere. It's just not there. So it's not a perfect sheath. I like to have a drainage hole on the thing in case it rains and water pours in there, and you don't want this thing to get rusty. Trust me, it's such a nice knife. Rusty knife is just not going to be looking very nice. Coming down to the next page, a few positive things about the knife is that this is just based on my speculation, because, well, I cannot just guarantee you this is all sort of very objective, because I'm just sort of taking an engineering perspective of this knife. So for start, it's actually a convex grind for batoning through wood. So that's if you don't know what a convex grind is, hopefully, okay, this is probably not gonna give you too much perspective. I have some drawings here. Convex grind, if you look at the cross section of the knife, so this is full flat grind, which you usually find on your spectacles, and this is hollow grind, and that's a very common grind called sabot, or a partial flat grind. And this is the convex grind. So as you can see, it curves sort of like with a belly toward the edge. So what this does is, as you can obviously see, that is much thicker material in this region than any of these other grinds. So it's similar to what your axe, if you have an axe, it's similar to an axe. So that gives you a stronger edge. And the convex grind is also easier to sharpen, in my opinion, because, well, if you have a leather strap, you put the polishing compound on the leather strap, and then you just strap this thing back and forth on the leather strap. It will sharpen very easily because it just simply has this sort of a curve going on the knife edge. Anyways, in terms of the negative stuff, yeah. So negative stuff based on my speculation is that I think the handle could be somewhat ever slightly more comfortable. I can feel it's not too big a deal, I must say. It's not too big a deal, but if you look at this picture I found online, someone had taken apart their Fallkniven knife. I mean, this is the picture actually hurts me when I see it. But when they take apart the knife, obviously you can see this part of the knife is just simply, it's not much finished, and it's just simply it's not actually rounded up or anything. So the edge here is very sharp on the handle. So if you hold the knife very firmly, you can feel somewhat like a square shaped blade, sort of tang inside. It's not too big a deal. Actually, holding it right now, I don't feel anything uncomfortable at all. Maybe it's not really a very valid point. Who knows? You be the judge. So the back of the handle is made of a rubber material. That could so I'm talking about this section here. I've seen videos where people batoning through wood, and having this chopping through wood, and like because the blade is sort of not very long, and they actually use the wood to hammer both ends, like the tip end and the handle end. When they use the wood to hammer the handle end, when they hit this part, they actually end up damaging somewhat the rubber. And I think this is the reason why Fallkniven had come up with what's a so-called upgrade, the Fallkniven Pro series, where they put like a metal, probably a stainless steel handguard in here to sort of improve the survivability of this region of the knife. I don't really see how that being a very good design, because I've seen videos where they actually sort of like loosen up the handguard through batoning. And I tell you what, like this guy is not gonna loosen up through batoning. It's just gonna be probably slightly damaged in here. So you be the judge which one is actually a better design. Anyways, and the sheath, I think if there's a pouch on the sheath, I'll be much more happier. Like maybe over here, like so you can carry something like a small fire starter or a multi tool with you when you go into the woods. I mean, this sheath is nice, don't get me wrong, but like having some extra little space to carry something It's always good when you have like a big knife and you need something to give you a little sort of a delicacy, you know, like, shall I say, multifunctional purpose. Anyways, here's some final note. This is a new feature I come up with for all my knife reviews. The Fallkniven knife is a very, very well made knife, and the build quality is really, really excellent. And I think the price is a bit high. Well, like I'm not talking about like high as like 2 times or 3 times as much as a competitive product. Comparing with Benchmade and Spectacle's offering, which both have like some other fancy steel like S90V or A1 steel, this knife is not too bad. And VG10 steel is actually pretty good for survival knife use because they are just sort of like a medium high carbon content in today's standard. I think my primary problem with the knife is that the default, the sort of actually most of these models will come with that zytel sheath I told you about, and those sheaths are just so ugly. I'm too ashamed to put it in the camera to let you see it. I just don't think that sheath deserves this knife at all. I think they should come up with a better sheath. But however, the leather sheath, which is the only better option you have, is made of leather, and like I said, leather will swell and they will probably get attacked by weather condition. So if you get this knife, I would say maybe think about which sheath you want to go for, and that will conclude my review. Thank you very much. Until next time.